Hello everyone and welcome back to Blues Focus. Now, in this video, I'm going to be going through my player ratings for the game against Bristol City. A brilliant 2-0 victory, which really showcased what this team is all about. Pacey going forward with a fluid attack and a really strong defence and midfield. Starting in goal, John Ruddy. Brilliant that he is staying at the club and he had a good game in this one. I've given him a 7 rated. As I said, he was really solid in goal, coming for crosses. In the second half, he had a couple of chances where he came for a cross and just missed it, but thankfully we weren't punished. But he seemed to calm down from that and ended the game really well as well. So a 7 rating for John Ruddy. Ethan Laird, unfortunately, had to come off just before half time with an injury, but before that, he was doing really, really well. I've given him a 7 rating. Probably would have given him higher if he'd been able to stay on the pitch, but that injury just cost him. But I think in this game, we really saw his defensive side come out. In defence, he was really, really good. No one was really getting past him, and he was able to use that pace against their attackers. And he was making really, really good runs forward. Really hope that he isn't injured and he will be back for the Plymouth game. Sanderson, I've given him a 9 rating in this. Now, against Leeds, I gave Sanderson, I think, a 7, and I said he could have been an 8. In this game, he was incredible, and I've had to give him a top rating. Brilliant performance, a real captain's performance. I know I said that in the Leeds game, but again, in this, he seems to be taking that captain's armband and running with it. He's a real leader, always communicating on the pitch, and he's showing it with his performances as well. Really strong at the back, winning all those headers, and really comfortable on the ball. So a 9 rating for Sanderson. Kevin Long, I've given him an 8 rating. Again, solid performance from Kevin Long. That's all I can say about him, really. He's really good on the ball and he is just solid. He's always winning headers in the air, always winning his battles against the strikers. So a really good performance from him as well. And to finish off the defence, Lee Buchanan, I've given him an 8 rating as well. And all I've written down is solid again defensively. No one's really getting past him. And it's one of those where on either side, if the fullback does ever get beaten, then the centre back just comes along and just mops up. That defence is really, really solid at the moment. And I hope it doesn't change. Moving on into the midfield as well, which always seem to help the defence. Ivan Sunjic, I've given him an 8 rating as well. Great defensively, and he's just a little terror in midfield. He's the one that's doing all of the dirty work, putting in those really hard challenges. As I said in the Leeds game, when he's on the ball, I think that's when we see how he's not quite as good. But when he's off the ball and making those defensive decisions, he is really good. Can be a bit rash at times with his challenges, but I think we need that in the team. It's someone that the attacking players from the other team are going to be scared of coming up against in case they might get injured or they might get clattered. So Ivan Sunjic, really, really good performance. I mean, the fans are definitely getting on his side, constantly singing his name throughout the game. So I'm just really glad that he is back in the team. Christian Bielik, I've given him a 7 rating for this. Not as good as Sunjic, in my opinion. He had some really good interceptions and some good passing in this game. But I think the game, it just wasn't about him in this game. I think he was more just not a spare part. That's not what I'm saying because he did do really well. But I think he spent most of the time on the floor throughout the game. Sometimes he was genuinely fouled. I think he got an elbow to the face at one point. But he seems to just be going down a lot. And whether that was time wasting or I know Bielik does that quite a lot for being such a tall guy. But hopefully he's all right and he hasn't got any niggles or anything going into the next game. But as I said, a 7 rating, solid, but nothing spectacular in my opinion. Moving on to the front three, and Bakuna, I've given him an 8 rating. Now, in right mid, he had some bright spells going forward. But again, I don't really think that's his position. But I've given Bakuna an 8 rating because he had to go at right back and fill in for Ethan Laird. And I think he did really, really well. You could see almost straight away that it's not his natural position. I think we always know with Bakuna, he has tendencies to just switch off. And you could see that at points. But then once he was switched straight back on, that I think it was Sam Bell that Bristol had on the left wing in the second half. I don't think he beat Bakuna once. Bakuna just had the beating of him every time, and he was able to do that where he just backs off, and then able to put the foot in at the last minute and win the ball back. And then he's also got that drive to get forward as well from right back. You could see so many times when we got the ball and he just wanted to move up that field. Had a brilliant chance in the second half when he made an amazing run. Could have slipped in Hogan, didn't. Could have slipped in Anderson, didn't. Took the shot and it just hit the outside of the post. But if that had gone in, then that would have been an amazing goal as well. So good performance from Bakuna. I'm hoping that Ethan Laird is back because I don't really want to see him in that right back position again. But if he does have to fill in there, then I think this has been a good start in that position for him. Moving on to Anderson, I've given him a 7 rating. Now I think a better game today than he had against Leeds, but again, I think he's still trying to fit himself into this. I think sometimes it seems like his confidence is not where it could be compared to like a Dembele, for example. I've put that he needs to pull the trigger sometimes. I think sometimes it'll work really well, like we saw with just before half time with the Miyoshi chance where it looked like he was going to shoot on his left and he cut back and laid it to Hogan. But I would just like to see him shoot a bit more. He has a couple of chances in the game where he does do it and he either second guesses himself or his touch just isn't good enough. But I think when he does get that first proper goal for Blues, we'll just see his confidence come out a lot more. So 7 rating for Anderson. Again, good, solid performance. Would like to see his confidence come out a bit. Moving on to Dembele, he's just a wizard on the wing, isn't he? His close control is amazing. He knows how to use his body as well. Although he's only short, he's able to back into defenders and then just spin them either one way or another. I mean, we saw it with literally the first seconds of the game. The ball gets played out to him, and straight away the pass wasn't great. And I thought, oh God, what's happened? And he just turns his defender and he's gone. And then able to put the cross in, and Hogan just puts it over. But there was so many times in the game where he just got the ball and he just turned his defender with ease. And then not only would he beat one, but he'd beat the second one and the third one and either get a foul or he'd be able to lay it off. Just a really, really good performance. Unfortunately, another injury and that he had to go off at half time. But I know he was sitting with the subs. So hopefully it's not too bad an injury. And I'm hoping that Eustace was just taking a precaution. Because we really need him going forward. I think he offers that pace. I know the likes of Anderson have got pace as well, but his pace is electric down that wing, and he's always causing problems for the defense. And he's one of those that even when he's not on the ball, he plays so wide on the wing, it just stretches the play. And the other team are so concerned about him that they're not recognizing the likes of Anderson or Bakuna or Hogan making those runs in behind. So really hoping that he's not out for too long. But an 8 rating for Dembele, did really well. Probably could have got higher if he'd been able to stay on the pitch, but really good game for him. Moving on to Scott Hogan, I've given him a 7 rating. In the first half, he seemed to be playing almost like a target man at times. You know, on goal kicks and free kicks, sometimes we were going along to him, which I don't mind, to be honest, because although Hogan doesn't always win those headers, it gets the ball back up the pitch and he can be a nuisance sometimes just for defenders, literally just standing there back to them. Obviously, it's not his game, and sometimes his link-up play when he gets the ball to his feet, he doesn't quite know what to do with it. But then moving into the second half, I noticed almost straight away that he started making a few more runs in behind, not always being found, but it creates space in the middle for whoever's in the middle. I think it was Miyoshi in the second half. And they're just able to do a bit more. Again, his pressing style is really, really weird. It's obviously he's being told to do it, but he seems to go through about 4 yards from the defender and then just stop and wait and wait. And I know I was at the game and I was just shouting, press, press, but obviously it's what he's being told to do. So if it's clearly working, so he's doing really well. But yeah, a 7 rating. Not his best game as always, but I think, as I said in the last one, if he's not scoring, he seems to just be there and the game passes him by. But good performance from Scott Hogan, better than the Leeds game, I would say. I just really want him to get that goal, to get his confidence back, because you can really see that he needs it. Moving on to the substitutes, and the first one was Miyoshi. Now, what a player this guy is. His first touch in the game wasn't even a touch really, but the ball got laid through to him and he just used his body to feint, let the ball run, and he just sent two Bristol City players and was just gone. Tried to get around another, and I think he won a free kick, but his pressing is really, really good. I know he came on towards the end, so obviously he's going to press straight away in that first half because he's got the energy. But throughout the game, he's always constantly pressing. Interceptions are quite good. He seems to read the game well as well. But as I say, his dribbling, similar to Dembele, although Dembele is more quick, being able to get round them. Miyoshi is more that close control in that he's not really, really quick, but over 2 yards he is to be able to get away from his opposition player. But we've got to talk about that goal. I mean, what a goal it was. It made up for him missing the chance just before, but ball comes in from the corner, it's headed out, and I can see it dropping, and I can see it's Miyoshi, and I'm thinking he's going to hit it, and I'm obviously Blues fan. We don't see goals like that, so I'm waiting for it to go over the bar or it to be blocked, and he rockets it with his weaker foot as well, and when it hit the back of the net, no one really knew what to do. It was like, what have we just witnessed? Absolutely amazing. I know Jamie's always calling him the Japanese Berbatov, and I mean that's exactly the type of goal that Berbatov would score, just coming down, just complete nonchalant, just boom with the right foot into the back of the net. Brilliant goal. I mean, going into the second half was a bit less effective. Playing in that middle role, would have liked to see him and James probably swapping as well when Jordan James did come on. But again, did well, had a couple of runs here and there, but a really good game for him. And I've given him an 8 rating. So Miyoshi, hoping he starts in the next game, but one of those where you don't really change a winning side. So unless injuries, we'll probably see him coming on off the bench in the next game. The next substitute, Jordan James, giving him a 7 rating, was solid when he came on and helped Bakuna. I think Jordan James is just that type of player that he is solid. He's not going to be ripping up trees with the likes of Dembele, for example, or Miyoshi, but you know that he's always going to put in the most amount of effort that he can. He's just a solid, well-rounded player. And I think bringing him on, although it wasn't nice to see Dembele go off, it almost helped us a lot because with his defensive play, he was able to help out Bakuna a lot in that right back position. He was always tracking back whenever their left back was making a run around or past their winger. James was always following them, so they wouldn't be able to just slide it past Bakuna. So really good game by James. Missed the chance at the end, which Djukovic did finish off, thankfully. But yeah, as I say, always coming back to defend, but always bombing forward as well. Got a really good engine on him, and I'd like to see Jordan James a lot this season. He's had a really good pre-season, and I think coming on, he's shown he can play in loads of different positions as well, all the way across the front three. But he could also come on and replace Bielik or Sunjic, I believe, as well in those CDM positions. So really versatile player, and I think we need to keep hold of him and really mould him into the player that we want him to be. So 7 rated for Jordan James, solid performance. Now, the last 2 substitutes I haven't given ratings to, but I am just going to give them special mentions. Lukas Djukovic coming on and doing what Djukovic does, getting at that back post, finishing off chances. Brilliant that he was able to get a goal. I mean, he's so beloved by the Blues fans. Even when he's warming up straight away, there's just massive shouts of Duke coming from the fans when he's on the touchline. And then when he does come on, we know that he hasn't got the pace anymore, but we know that he's going to be winning balls in the air and he's going to be getting on the end of things. And that just showed with his goal. Great counter attack, but Sunjic running down the wing, good ball in. As I said, James missed it, but it was almost like he'd heard Djukovic shout for it and left it, I think. But obviously, Duke there and finished it off. And it was just a brilliant ending to the day, really. And then Longelo coming on as well. Quite liked that when he came on, we didn't seem to go to a back 5, and it was more he was playing as a winger. For me, I think that's the position that he needs to play. If he's not playing at left back, bring him on when he plays at left wing. means that we can keep a 4-4-2 in defence, and he can bomb on forward. And he had some good energy running down that wing. It was a shame that I think by then Bristol had kind of closed up, and it was more of let's not concede anymore rather than get the goal. So we didn't get to see his full pace down that wing, but he was energetic, got back defensively to help out Buchanan and getting forward as well, trying to hold the ball in the corner and link up with Djukovic. So nice to see Longfellow in more of an attacking position. And as I say, I'd like to see him there a bit more. But yeah, an amazing game. Everyone had a really good game. I wouldn't say anybody let the side down. Definitely not. Had to make a lot of substitutes, but I think it really showed the depth in our squad this year. In that all the subs that did came on had a really, really big impact on the game. They did really well, and it's just good that if we do get these injuries, we know now that we've got players that can replace them, and the team's not really going to change. I know we sat back a bit more in the second half, but there wasn't really any points where I thought that Bristol are just going to take over the game completely, and that if we conceded one, that they were instantly going to get a second. But it didn't really seem like they were going to get one. I think they only really had the one chance with Naki Wells that they wasted, but they didn't have a single shot on target. I think that just shows how good we are going forward with the pace, but how solid we are in defence. And as I just hope those injuries aren't going to hamper us too much, and that all the players are back in good time. But keep right on, everyone, and I'll be back with my player ratings for the next game against Plymouth. Take care, everyone.